All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Brian Lambert Show. Thanks for joining today. I hope you enjoy our format of our show. Welcome to the new year. Super excited to see you all. And we have a lot to cover today. We're going to talk about what's going on in the AI space. We're going to talk about a digital dilemma, which I believe is probably close to your brain. I was going to say close to your heart, but I think it's close to your brain. You'll see what I mean here in a second. And then we're going to talk about how do we overcome that dilemma. I'm going to share some frameworks with the panel. We're going to talk about those frameworks. And I really want you to engage. So share your questions, share your thoughts about what we're discussing, and share your goals. Share your goals of what you're trying to achieve in the new year as we work together to not only understand the AI space, but take the bull by the horns, if you will, and drive impact in our organization. So again, welcome to the show where we're going to break the myth that AI and tech are only for the techies. It's not just for technical people, it's for business people too. We're going to blend business and technology today as we tackle it. So thanks for joining. And what we're going to do first is take a look at some news. And I curate this, and Digital Command curates the news. We have a newsletter. And every time we go through and we take the moment to actually look at the news, we love to just take your perspective on this. So what you can do is actually take a moment and chat it in the chat box. But here's the top news for today. We've got TikTok could be banned. I don't know if you all are on TikTok or not, but one of the things that we're doing is paying attention to that. And then also when we curate it, AI-powered robot named CAPTCHA. I think I talked about this in the last show. So let me get the latest version here. There's a lot going on in the AI space around AI governance and safety. And there's a lot going on in the AI space around the idea that AI will become a coworker, if you will, that soon you'll have AI bots in your organization working with you as teammates. Also, AI is going to have a big impact on search. Right now, we probably go to search engines and we search for things on the internet. What we're going to find and what we're going to see is that not only is AI replacing the need to search, but it's also helping people find what they need in real time instead of searching. It's being, proactive. There's a lot of AI happening in the marketing space, and I think that's important to understand as well, what's happening there. And then also AI from a voice perspective. There's a lot of AI chat bots that are happening with voice, so voice bots. Also voice agents, where agents are actually able to not only answer basic questions, but be proactive in how they engage with people on the phone. And multimodal agents, so not only chatting, but actually using voice. There's going to be a lot of investment in AI in 2025. AI is the year of the agent and the agent orchestration. Some call them agent swarms. I don't know if you've heard that before, but agents will be deployed to tackle more routine and mundane tasks. At the same time, CIOs and CTOs are investing in AI. They're also going to have to invest in not only training and improving the skill sets of their own teams, but also become the help desk, if you will, for people internally trying to figure out how AI is impacting them. And we're going to talk about that as well. So these are some of the highlights from the news, some of the things that are happening in the AI space. You can get this news at digitalcommand.co/news. And, I'd love to get your thoughts. If you have a question about what's happening in the news, if you have a comment about what's happening in the news, feel free to chat it in the chat box. All right. So let's go on now into our digital dilemma. And we're going to hear from our detangler on the show, Barry. And Barry, what do you think of all the things that are going on and all the changes that are happening? What dilemma do you think we should talk about today?
I think it's really, how do we accelerate folks learning? There's a model that we have in place across the globe that includes sharing information, or trying to convert that information into and then folks really struggle with a couple of things. One, remembering any of that, and then putting it into action. So imagine that we could move to a place where we could accelerate folks learning, almost like you have a child prodigy. I saw a video of someone that was 12 years old and going into college and starting their college experience at New York University. There's no reason why other folks can't do that. That person is obviously very intelligent and skipped several grades, et cetera. But there's a lot of things that happen in our educational system that, again, are pushing information, hoping that you turn that into knowledge, but it doesn't help you make decisions. So what if we could accelerate toward a place where people practice, accelerate place where people learn from their mistakes, and we do that in an accelerated fashion? That might actually change the world of education to prepare you prior to, adulthood. But it's absolutely going to reduce time to ramp in corporations. And when that starts to happen, we get into a very different world of productivity. How do we learn faster? How do we get to the decision-making side of things? And how do we make a bigger impact in our world?
So what if somebody said that they're already doing that? They're already focused on helping people take action and make decisions, and that's what we're currently doing. Like how would you draw a distinction between kind of the old and the new, and maybe give some examples of what you mean?
Yeah, so my kids are in college, and I've seen during COVID, I was able to actually attend some of their, virtual college sessions, and you had professors that were still just providing information. Uh, the students were not paying attention; they actually were recording those those things, or they were buying someone else's notes, or they were recording them, taking the recording, putting them into the early version of ChatGPT, and then looking at them later. So where we are today is not very lab based. It's not very practice based. It's still quite a few experts sharing things without any action. What my son actually likes is he goes to the lab at his university and he tinkers, and folks learn how to do things by tinkering. So the past is, again, sharing information, hoping it converts into knowledge, and then almost no practical application. That's where we are today. Where we would be in the future is going straight to the practical application, because the information and the knowledge is shared in some kind of AI assistant or AI agent, if you will. And you might get a brief overview, but then that knowledge is there, or knowledge, information, what have you, is there through an AI assistant to support you as you're practicing, as you're getting experience. And over time, because you focused on practice, making decisions, solving problems, I tell you what, maybe I sum it up this way. If you think about Elon Musk, if you could go to YouTube and search, how does Elon Musk learn? And he studies and different things like that, and he reads and he uses AI to come up to speed. But then he just goes to SpaceX, and then to X, and to the different companies that he owns. And he says, what is the biggest problem that you guys are facing right now? He skips the VPs and directors, et cetera, and he goes, sits with the engineers, and they solve that problem. Usually takes about 4 or 5 days. And then he goes to the next company. What's the biggest problem? And he just cycles through that. That's how he does his weekly, monthly, quarterly kind of cadence. Imagine a world where we all did that, where we were supported by these bots and AI, et cetera, from a foundational knowledge, information, et cetera. And we just walked around solving one problem at a time. If you ask, how is Elon Musk accelerating his businesses, it's because that's what he does. He focuses on solving problems. And I think in the new world, we're going to solve problems faster and better than we ever have.
Yeah, I
You
love
tell
that.
me it's not talking about learning how to learn.
Yeah, I've called it that in the past. I will say that I recently ran a learn how to learn workshop, and I believe in a framework that's from Innovators DNA, where you ask questions, you experiment, you associate or connect the dots, if you will, and you observe. And it's just Clay Christensen's book on Innovators DNA. It didn't resonate. It didn't land, and I was really surprised. And I think it just didn't, it didn't land because people want everything handed to them on a silver platter. They're not actually walking around. Someone said to me, Barry, you're a learner. You like to learn. You learn sort of as a hobby, but no one else does that. We don't actually show up every day wanting to learn. So why would you teach us how to learn? And I'm still marinating on that. Because I do think that you can accelerate your learning without AI by just asking questions, observing, experimenting, etc. So what I found is, with regard to that framework, that's how I actually interact with AI. I always ask questions. I say things like, hey, I just tried this. What should I do differently next time? So I experiment. I say, ooh, I observed such and such within the Oppenheimer movie, and that seems to teach me that X, Y, and Z should happen. And so I think I can use AI better because I use that framework. But right now, to be quite frank, I'm not sure that we can teach people how to learn, or at least I'm a little frustrated with it. Ultimately, the outcome of learning how to learn is this: moving from what to think to how to think, critical thinking skills. And that's another piece of the future, right? We're going to focus on critical thinking skills more than ever before. And those who actually just share information, and that's really what it is. It's just spurring information, right? And hoping that it becomes knowledge, and then having no practical application. Those who are doing that, I think, are going to be left behind, because the AI is just going to be able to do that for you.
Yeah. So
Yeah, to
that's
me,
quite,
the whole learning paradigm is going to become kind of like for AI is like, about the guardrails and whatnot. Like it's going to be as about as much defining about what you're not going to do with it as what you are. Because AI is it going to really help you learn? Well, no, but it might automate so many tasks that free you to have more time to learn or to focus on bigger contextual, components, because you're not having to sort the widgets every day, if you will. So it's about, like, that's why I talk about pathways. The course I want to kind of start to frame out is like thinking about, like, you take, like, organizations take like your average, like, mid-career, I don't know, marketing analyst or financial analyst, and say, like, look, deconstruct your job description in the context of what you know about AI and and map it out. You can have, in theory, if you could have an unlimited number of AI bots, what would they be doing for you? What would these ultimately things that you'd be freed up to do? How would that drive value to the business? So it's like this flow that I want to map out. But that's what AI is. It's going to be a lot of defining what it's not, using it in that almost that negative protection kind of way. It's like, go automate this so that I can sit back and see a bigger picture.
That's right.
so the dilemma that we're framing up here is there's a lot to learn, but on one hand, people don't necessarily want to learn or feel like they should be helped to learn. And the way in which they define learning might be different than traditional methods, where, for example, you sit in a course and are taught something. Maybe the definition of learning is in the doing, and just in the doing, we learn every day. So we don't need a formal event called Time to Learn, or a formal approach called learning, teach me how to learn, because it's just what I do and it's just how I do it. And
That's right.
that's the dilemma, because on one hand, this approach of, and this belief or this bias that I can learn what I need to learn in the context of how I'm engaging and what I'm working on. Therefore, I learn every day and I'm learning what I need to learn. The
When you need it.
challenge with that and the dilemma of that is you don't know what you don't know. and things are evolving so much and things are so far advanced that you actually don't know what you need to know. Not only do you not know what you don't know what you need to know, but you also don't know what you don't know. So in other words, you have huge blind spots that are getting bigger and bigger every day. And I think that's a dilemma that you're framing out.
Yeah, it is, and I understand the need for foundation, and I'm working on that. I think what I've seen is everyone's at a different place. So when you get into the corporate space, everyone's in a different place. So imagine you're hiring new sellers, and the recruiting team have hired some acquisition or SDRs, and they've hired AEs and the technical sales team, and all of a sudden you have an onboarding program that's too generic because you have all these different folks at different points in their career and different levels of technical ability, and you can't scale to create bespoke enablement for each role, and you think, oh geez, what am I going to do, create a one size fits all? And that's what we typically do. And I think that we're going to be able to create more one size fits one, more personalized experiences and practice exercises to get people up to speed in their given role, because that managers are doing that anyway. And so imagine if those managers didn't have to do that. That will be a really huge game changer. I think in a lot of situations, people are succeeding in spite of the learning entities, in spite of high school, in spite, for example, my daughter started her Etsy shop when she was in high school. She still had to get that high school degree, but she became an entrepreneur all on her own through educational programs that were provided by Etsy or different YouTube videos, etc. And she was bringing in like $20,000 a year. It's because she was solving a problem. And that's what it has to be centered on, is solving a problem. And then once you try to solve that problem and you fail, that's when you then go back and say, well, what information and knowledge do I need to try to do it better next time? It's just in time, as we always say, rather than just in case.
Yeah, love that. All right, so now that we have the dilemma framed out, let's go to how would we tackle that? So if our dilemma is we need to focus on helping people be successful, they're in charge, they're in a direct control over how they learn and what they learn. Everybody has blind spots they're going to encounter. So now what? How do you help people? And what should they do to tackle that dilemma?
I think you have a framework for that, right?
I do. Yeah, we'll show it here in a second. And I think the key to that is when you look at tackling these things, we did had a little bit of a discussion about how would we go about it. It would be just in time. But what does just in time mean? And how do you do that in the AI age?
Yeah, I think, again, we've got to shift the mindset from I will receive and I will be passive to I will do the work, create outputs, and there'll be a rubric that will grade the output. And that's another sort of dilemma that we're having in this space, is that everyone loves going to middle school and high school and sitting there and either falling asleep or watching a video on their phone. And then they get into the corporate world and they want everything, fed to them. And when they have to do the work to create an output, they're not willing to show up and do the work.
So let's talk about what that looks like from a solution spotlight perspective, right? So one is we have to figure out, as we tackle this, how do we simplify our own learning and what are we focused on? And then two, we have a decision to make on what we do when we learn. Are we going to actually engage and tackle that output, or are we going to choose not to? So what techniques or what ideas do you all have to engage and to learn by doing? What have you learned in the process?
Well, I still go back to the innovator's DNA, where you workshop it, if you will. When you go to the innovator's DNA workshops and so forth, there's a work desk with a hammer and cardboard and Google Glasses, for example. The first version of that was actually cardboard looking laptop with cardboard looking glasses, and they built it in 2 hours. And then they started to say, well, what should we do? What are the aha moments that I've had, and all those various things. So I think it's about building and then shipping. By that I mean releasing your prototype and sharing it, and then having that mindset of being okay with not good enough, and being brave enough to share that with the world, and get everyone's impact or inputs on it, and then continuing to build 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 2.0, etc. And that's the other thing I think that people struggle with. They want to say something like, I will not put my name on this. And instead of actually building anything, they build nothing because they're afraid of a feedback or what have you. So you've got to have the builder mindset.
Well, one thing, Barry, that and that we do is around figuring it out, right? And I think that's kind of our mantra. And so again, I kind of use myself quickly as the journey is, though I'm pretty well educated in a number of different areas, getting into the digital world was a leap for me, from my background. And of course, I'm someone who's intrinsically motivated to learn, but I made a lot of errors. It was trial and error, but it was interesting. I made mistakes. I got good feedback. I reflected on it. I made progress, and and I continue. And so a lot of it's about when we're framing learning here, right? It's we're doing things, and learning will be on demand to help us get what we need to do it, right? We give us the information so we can complete whatever task or project we're working on. And that's kind of one area of learning. But, if we're looking at really the whole learning experience and how people are going to learn going forward and on the job and be willing to take risks, it's experiential is what it comes down to, right? And
well,
it's been around for a while, but that's really what it is.
I still have a rhythm of consuming content. It happens to be from 8 to 10 every night. What's interesting though is I like to ask AI to write an analogy in alignment to something I like, which is typically golf. So if I need to understand, some complexity from the atomic bomb that was explained in Oppenheimer, I'll actually either say, explain it to me like I'm a fifth grader, or write an analogy using golf. And when it comes back, I'm not to the doing side practice or anything, but it just because my mind, I like American football and golf. And when you explain anything within the context of those things, I learn it faster than you could possibly imagine, and I don't ever forget it. So many times when you're in middle school or high school, people are writing analogies, but it's not aligned to anything that we like.
Yeah, that's
I think they call that anching, right?
That's right.
Term for that, right?
Anchoring it,
to something that allows you to. Oh, okay, I get what you're talking about. If you like, if you're into automobiles and engines, and okay, yeah. I understand. Or cooking recipes, same type of thing. You can relate to it, and
I've always gotten,
probably doesn't happen enough.
I've always gotten a little bit in trouble by using sports analogies, and that's kind of happened recently. And so with AI, that's fine. Just make the analogy come back in alignment to whatever it is you like. It could be mowing grass or planting trees, not sports analogies.
Yeah, that's great. Those are great tips. Well, one of the things that I did in the AI lead book was in chapter 5, we talk about the idea of value and converting data into something valuable. And I think this is a good time to bring in kind of a blueprint or framework like we do in all of our shows, where we try to tackle these types of challenges. In this case, how do we help people learn, and how do we help them recognize perhaps if they have blind spots, and to think about, well, what inputs are they getting? What inputs are they getting? How are they choosing to get those inputs? And quite frankly, some people don't want any inputs and they're not going to go out and search for them. So then there's a choice there. Do you give them inputs proactively through AI, or do you let them kind of choose their own, path and stay isolated? But there's this idea that data can provide inputs. People can be proactive about gaining new inputs, like Mark's story or Scalar's story of not knowing what the digital age or understanding data itself. So purposely and intentionally choosing to go learn more about that and acquire more inputs, if you will. And then, what do we do? What do we do for information? Barry's got the example of every night, 8 to 10, gathering information using stories and analogies. How do other people collect information? Is it scrolling through YouTube constantly, a bunch of random information, or is it more structured? And what would give us more insight? Where would insight come from? Random scrolling or something more intentional? And then that information can become knowledge. We can ingrain it. It becomes who we are, or a base of our understanding of tackling things and making sense of the world. And I think AI in itself has actually changed our understanding, and it requires new knowledge. In other words, how we went about our jobs before, the understanding of our roles, the understanding of our jobs, the underpinning knowledge is still there. However, the way in which that needs to be actioned or how we engage others might change. So we might have the same knowledge, we may have the same information, but we're going to have to understand how to use it differently. Or we're going to have to understand that we don't have enough knowledge and we don't have enough information, that actually we need to become more generalists, if you will, a new Renaissance age where people need to understand and have knowledge about different domains. And that's where the idea of taking action is critical, because as we engage in a new reality, as we engage in a new role or evolution of our own jobs, as we take action, we will soon run into blind spots, and we will soon find knowledge gaps, or we may not understand how to actually do something, such as build an app, build an AI bot, deploy a application on a server to test with a new group of people, to ship new products to see what happens, if that's what we're doing. So the data value chain is a way to think about, where is our information coming from? What's the source? And then how does that then go through our own brains? But also, how does AI add value at each step of these links in the chain? What is the role of AI in this? And so using a framework like this can help us think it through from a system and tool and application perspective. It can help us think it through from a knowledge perspective of our own, like our own understanding, our own knowledge, our own wisdom individually. But also, it can also talk about and explore the organizational dynamic. What is the organization's knowledge? What's the core intellectual property that other people engage in, for example? And how are we capturing the value of our organization's data and helping it turn that into value for our customers? So that's the data value chain, and it's in chapter 5 of the AI lead book, where I talk about the role of artificial intelligence plus human intelligence, right? Humans in the loop, AI plus HI equals CI, collective intelligence. Artificial plus human equals collective intelligence. What is the role of AI in this value chain, and what's the role of humans in this? I think one of the things about this digital dilemma is humans, myself included, are inherently lazy, and we're only going to do things that we must do and what we feel like we need to do. well, if people don't feel like they need to learn, and and it's not a requirement to learn, what are they doing? Maybe they're doing things that are not getting them outside their comfort zone, for example, right? So that's something to think about. So I'd love to move into a bit of a roundtable discussion. Let's talk about how do we put this into action.
I have some thoughts on that as it relates to let's say a specific role, for instance. Say you're in sales and you start with an organization, and you're thinking about all these inputs, and you want to your outcome is, hey, you want to create a message, right? Maybe I'm messaging as I'm prospecting. How do I get better at that and more effective and more targeted? Okay, and as I'm looking at my inputs about how to do this, right, I'm like, okay, there's an intranet site in my organization. There's AI that can now help me. I can put information in and ask it, give it prompts so it can refine my messaging to get that back to me. But then again, you asked about the human element, because again, who in my organization is going to help validate what information I've crafted, right, as I'm moving through this going forward. So that human element still needs to be there. And of course, people like to gather information depending upon how they're oriented, right? I mean, we talk about our personal kind of learning network. Some people like to go online. Some people want to go to a cohort or an individual that they know well. Somebody wants to go read something because that's their inclination is to go and study on their own. That's the way they do that. So, of course, AI can assist you all the way through that. It can help you organize your insights, and then you can go validate those again. And I think you're more confident in the knowledge that you have given that. And I think, again, it can help you prioritize and kind of validate what actions you want to take. And then you go and try it and go through the cycle again, if you will. But that's how I'd frame it as I'm thinking about it. But that's just one particular, scenario. But again, I think you need the human element to help, depending upon the context of it. But AI can help you with any of those stages, if that makes sense.
I think you're right. I think what holds me back is that we talked about it earlier, just have never provided the opportunity to get to level 5 in the wisdom, and focusing on solving problems. And from wisdom, what that says to me is the ability to make decisions. And then through those decisions, achieving outcomes, because we spend so much time gathering data, arguing about the validity of the data. Prior to AI, saying, well, is this person the expert or that person the expert? And, you end up in the situation of pick one. And we just never get time to spend the right amount of work on making decisions and achieving outcomes. And sometimes I just think, like, in the world today, we're lucky as hell that we actually achieved something. and so now we get into this space where you say inputs. Like, I'll give you an example. I got a playbook, and I noticed that the playbook was really, really well written. But I know that when people read that playbook, they're not going to quite understand what it's trying to say to them and their role. So I actually copied the entire playbook, put it into ChatGPT, and I said, write a competence, skills and knowledge map, competency map for every role in our organization based on this playbook. And it came back and it didn't have proficiencies, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. So I said, add that in. So next thing you know, I essentially have a learning plan for every single role in the organization for the entire year in alignment to the playbook. And in the past, we would spend so much time meeting with people and interviewing them and trying to understand what the playbook is actually saying. AI gave us exactly what people need to know and be able to do faster than ever before. Now I have a decision to make, which is to take it to all the stakeholders and say, does this look like what we need to teach your folks in this calendar year? Make that decision and then build.
But isn't that opposite of what we just said, where people aren't going to want to learn that anyway. So like there's
the example I always give, because I'm a learning practitioner, is I didn't really need to know, how to create competency maps in that example, or what I could have said skills and knowledge. What do I need to teach my team, or something simple like that. So the example I was giving is just about me and me doing my job and getting to wisdom in my job space.
Oh, it could be any role. Yeah.
It could be any role. And my mind is geared toward, building things that people would consume. And I still, even though I adopt AI, end up saying, how am I going to use AI to build something that people might not need anymore, meaning learning, which is funny, right? So you think,
yeah, that's what I was saying.
But I'm not.
Yeah, we're in this gray area of, well, in the past, we've always built stuff and we've always structured it up, and then we've tracked people who go do these things. Yeah, in the future, we probably aren't going to need it, but we should probably go ahead and build this anyway, because we're in this gray area.
Exactly.
It's like when cars came out, you had the cars and the horses going down the street at the same time.
Exactly.
And they had to make way for each other, because some people are like, I'm still riding my darn horse. You guys can do that car thing. I'm not doing it. I'm just not going to do it. And you have both.
That is the dilemma. And I've thought about it recently. I appreciate you laughing about it. I've actually just said I'm so old that it might not get solved in my lifetime, that I'm not going to worry about it.
And I think it may. Moving fast.
We're never going to get away from the university system. Is not going anywhere. The secondary education system is not going anywhere. So we're going to have this dilemma that this oxymoron or paradox. We're going to have that for a little while. But I'll tell you who's going to succeed, right? It's people like Elon Musk who say this: I need to help people solve a problem, and what I'm going to do is prepare as much as I can, however it is I like to prepare, reading books, using AI to consume data inputs, and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to go in together face to face. We're going to look at this rocket launcher and XYZ7, et cetera. And I'm going to prepare myself to ask engineers the right questions, and they're going to figure out. So I am a problem solver person.
Well, yeah. And it's really looking at this map, this process, and beginning at the end. Okay, I need to solve something. And then how am I just going to, what inputs do I need? Now, what do I have at my disposal now that I didn't before, right? And now with artificial intelligence, you have a lot more than that, right? At your disposal, which affects all of those. So yeah, if you're starting at the end with, okay, how do I figure this out? Like myself, what type of outcome did I need to produce when it came to, improving my data literacy and being able to use that to build courses? Hey, I had to figure that out, but went back to, all right, what are the inputs that I needed? And I think that, I don't think the motivations it will always be there to get those outcomes, but now it's, I think people realizing what outputs do I gravitate, or inputs do I gravitate towards the most that are going to allow me to be more successful. And that's just kind of like, the old school of people are, visual, or some are, like to hear stuff, and some like to do stuff to learn.
Guardian, do you have anything you want to add, Brad, on this?
No, I think this has been it's about, the university system isn't going anywhere. AI is obviously, advancing at rapid speeds. So the tangles are going to continue to come, and the untangles are going to continue to have to work through, just like AI. And I think some of it, like I said, is going to be using AI to eliminate stuff out of the process that just frees you up to focus more on the solution.
Yeah. Well, great. So let's now move into the next segment, which is aha moments, and let's talk about what are some of the key takeaways here. I think for me, one of the things that you guys talk about is this idea that really resonates with me, where when we encounter something new as humans, we really have a choice. And at some point, people on horses encountered an automobile. In that moment of truth, they had to decide what they were going to do about it. And they all went about it their own way. Some people are like, I got to get me one of those. I love automobiles. I'm going to learn everything about them. Other people are like, heck no, I'm never going to drive one. I'm pretty sure that cave people back in the cave, somebody brought a fire to them and said, "Look, me find fire," and people like, "No, me think you crazy. This fire thing bad. It will kill us all. Never touch fire. Bad fire." And other people are like, look at all the stuff the fire can do. And then you have calculators. Teachers picketing out in front of schools, no calculators in the classroom. Well, you know what? Other people are like, calculators are fine. I think this is the moment of truth equivalent where we're in this space of AI. Some are going to gravitate to it and unlock its mysteries and help it help them. Other people are going to like, AI is bad, AI terrible, AI is going to take us all over. I'm never touching AI. And I think, you know what, as humans, that's happened through the dawn of time. And we all have a decision to make. And I think that's the question is, one, do we believe that this is a moment of truth, that we have a decision to make, the collective we of humanity, each individual deciding if that's for themselves? And then the second thing is, well, now what am I going to do about it? Like, that's the second thing. What am I going to do about it? And then the third thing is, if I choose to do something about it, how will I go about that? And these are three key questions. Encountering something new, am I, what am I going to do about that? Two is like, okay, I have a choice to make. I believe I should do something about it. Okay, well, three, how are you going to do that?
Right.
Am I going to wait for my company to tell me what to do? Some people are going to do that. Not affect my job right now. Not going to do anything. Nobody's asked me to. Staying in my swim lane. Other people are going to be like, heck no, I'm doing this AI thing, whether my company wants me to or not. And I think those are the decision points that are really resonating here with me. What are you guys thinking as far as aha moments?
I would agree. I found, people within my organization, a few of them that are like, yeah, I'm embracing this and this is how I'm jumping all over this and I'm utilizing this and leveraging it. And if you're not, you're behind on it. And someone had brought it to my attention a year ago. I didn't use artificial intelligence till probably last fall, or a year ago. And a sales rep said, "Hey, this is how I'm using this. You really need to adopt this." And obviously, I hate the cliched term, it's been a game changer, but I now am using it in various facets of my life. So I think people just need to get introduced and get acclimated towards it and give it a go.
I think the aha moment for me, what I've working through and struggling with is I am helping people come up to speed with creating AI assistants. And I watched someone who I'm actually meeting with at the top of the hour create them, and I thought I'd never be able to create them, and now I can. But I'm helping people practice and figure out how to use AI assistants and then create their own. So there are novices, if you will. And then I go into Slack rooms and things, and there are folks who we're supposed to be educating that are figuring things out on their own and are so advanced that I'm embarrassed by the workshop or the breakouts or the practice exercises that I've written, because someone figured out how to take a call recording, get the transcript, load 15 transcripts in there, and have an instant objection handling tool through the use of Notebook LM. And someone else, created a mutual action plan aligned to Challenger and a spreadsheet, and now they just have to type XYZ and hit enter, and all of a sudden the mutual action plan aligned to someone's 10K document totally gets spit out. And I think, oh my gosh, I never would have thought of that. And so I just think there's no middle ground right now. There are folks who just cannot and do not and will not. And then there are folks who are these early adopters who are doing things you never imagined. So that's my.
Yeah, I love it. How about you, Brad, Guardian? Any takeaways, aha moments?
No, I think that I think it's gonna define its own path. It's gonna be AI is gonna help us work our way into and out of AI. I think
Right.
to the degree that we let it guide it.
Barry is using AI to build AI assistants.
Yeah, that was the secret. I wasn't going to tell anyone that, Mark, but the guy I'm meeting with at the top of the hour, he said, "What do you mean you can't write the instructions for an AI assistant or for a GPT? Just tell AI to do it for you." And I thought,
Where's your coding background? I thought AI was for tech people.
and then it did it, and then I tweaked it, and then I ran it, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, do I ever have to do anything ever again?" And that's one of the things I think we need to think about, right? I have always felt, and this is my own struggle, a sense of imposter syndrome. And that has done a lot of different things. It's caused me to eat too much or have too much stress. It's caused a lot of things in my life. I don't have imposter syndrome anymore. And when you let go of imposter syndrome for whatever reason, and in this case, it's because AI is helping me be smarter, better, faster. Taking imposter syndrome away has caused happiness in my life that I never thought that I would achieve.
Awesome. And you could use AI. I mean, if you want to, not only be faster, smarter, but you could be faster, smarter, and better looking with AI.
That's
nowadays.
right.
I need to get that.
Thanks.
I played with that. I built one of myself on a motorcycle. It looked cool.
Well, all of my headshots are AI created. It took about an hour to process, and I got 40 or 100 of them for $40. And I posted them on Facebook, and family and friends were like, "Oh my God, you look so amazing."
All right. So as we wind down, we have an announcement for next week that I'm excited about. And let's
Are
watch.
you drowning in
let's watch
data
this.
yet starving for insights?
There has to be a better way.
Introducing the AI Lead, your guide to overcoming data drag and accelerating digital dominance. Discover how to eliminate inefficiencies, transform data into a competitive advantage, and achieve digital dominance with actionable AI strategies.
With the AI Lead, we're not just keeping up, we're leading the charge.
Industry leaders call it a must-read for future-ready executives. Master change, lead with command. Visit AILeadbook.com and unlock the blueprint to digital success today.
All right, there you go. I'm excited to announce the book launch next week. You can actually go to AILeadbook.com and you can register for the virtual book launch that we will have. Here's the opening slide of it. We're going to go through and actually do a deep dive through the book, through the major parts of the book, talk about some of the frameworks, just like we talked today about one of the frameworks in the book. And, the goal here is to encourage the conversation. Not only is AI here, in my opinion, it's coming inside of your organization. Enterprise AI will be deployed inside your organization. It's just a matter of time. So you can choose to be proactive about that and understand how that's going to go, or you can wait till it happens to you. And I think as a leader in an organization, it's important to recognize that we're in that gray area. There is the legacy industrial age. We have to manage the job in the way that we've always done it. But at the same time, we have this new thing, this new automobile equivalent that is going to help revolutionize our productivity and how we work. And the book tackles that gray area, especially in the areas of data and in AI and capturing it. So I hope you'll join me and the team at the virtual book launch on the 16th of January, 2025. Well, guys, thanks so much for your time today. Thanks for joining the AI Lead discussion, and more importantly, the Brian Lambert Show, as we are now in our 5th episode of figuring this out. We're getting better every time. Thanks so much for joining. We got Scalar, Detangler, Guardian. Appreciate you guys joining every Friday at noon Eastern, the Brian Lambert Show, and we'll see you next time. Take care.